What if I told you that there was an NBA player who physically couldn't seem to throw a normal pass? From stunning no-looks to his iconic, impossible to replicate elbow pass, Jason Williams was truly one of the greatest passers in NBA history, and his highlights are honestly some of the best on YouTube. But how did he develop this unique skill that allowed him to lead his squad to win the 2006 NBA championship? And why did he deliberately choose to make passes way more difficult than they had to be? Well, to find out, we have to go back to 1994. DuPont High School, led by their star point guard Jason Williams and forward Randy Moss, are set to face Martinsburg in the AAA National High School Championship game. But how is it that the only high school in Belle, West Virginia, a town that holds just over 1,000 people, is competing for a national title? Well, Jason, whose family lived in a trailer on DuPont's campus, thanks to the fact that his state trooper father, Terry, held a key to his school's gymnasium, has developed into one of the nation's top guards. The hours he spent alone working on his game.
It was nice. I went in there 3 or 4 hours just going in, dribbling, doing ball handling drills. Never really even shoot the ball for 3 or 4 hours. I've been there all by myself.
And his unique ability to use his imagination.
I'm in the gym like by myself, bro, like beating presses, cutting across half court, picking the ball up. Now I'm getting trapped. I'm trying all kind of crazy pivots and shit like that just because I know I'm gonna get stuck in the game one time and I might need that crazy pivot.
Combined with his connection to running mate Moss, an alliance formed both on the hardwood and the field has guided DuPont to be just 32 minutes away from being crowned as national champions. As this must-win game progressed, the chemistry between Jason and Randy was clear. Not only was Williams throwing insane behind-the-back dimes, as well as quarterbacking full-court passes, but he was also pouring in bucket after bucket. The teenager's elite ability to score is often the reason his teammates were wide open. However, in spite of a 26-point effort by their star, DuPont would ultimately head home empty-handed, and this was just the start of Jason's issues. Because the college coach who had recruited him to Providence, Rick Barnes, had accepted a new role at Clemson, and incoming leader Pete Gillen not only brought his basketball IQ, but another guard, Shamgar Wells. Williams, realizing that his freshman campaign would likely be spent riding the bench, wriggled his way out of his commitment and was forced to attend Fork Union Military Academy. Yet a certain assistant coach who begged his superior to sign the Belle native had just accepted a head coaching role at Marshall. Billy Donovan, who unlike most collegiate coaches, didn't see red flags whilst watching Jason dominate. No, he saw a basketball genius, one that was going to lead Marshall to new heights. But could a quick, showboaty point guard really succeed in the much slower collegiate game? However, before he could answer this question, Jay Will was forced to sit out the full 1994-1995 season due to NCAA rules. Yet, this time only presented the now 19-year-old with more opportunities to work on his game. Jason would train closely with Coach Donovan, who would have his point guard perform ball handling and passing drills whilst wearing weights on his wrists. Thanks to this year of work, Williams would lead his Marshall side to an improved 17-11 record during their 1995-1996 campaign. But this success would ultimately lead to his downfall, because Florida, another Division I college, noticing the talents of the rising Billy Donovan, recruited him to lead their program, devastating Jason.
So when I was leaving, he was waiting outside for me, and he grabbed me and says, "I want to come with you." And I just said, "Jason, you're from West Virginia, you're here to stay here." He says, "No, but I want to come with you."
Williams, understanding that once again he would be forced to sit out yet another season, would still follow the coach who believed in his abilities to Florida. However, was this a smart decision? Because Jay Will hated school. Regularly, the now 21-year-old was late or just straight up refused to attend class. Therefore, Coach Donovan would punish his point guard.
I said, "Jason, listen, every time you miss a tutor, you miss a class, you're late for something, it's 6 o'clock in the morning." So, sure enough, first day I get a phone call, missed his tutor. 6 o'clock in the morning, he's up running. Next day, it was late for class, 6 o'clock. And after about 5 days of this, he comes in my office and says, "Coach, how about we just do this? How about I just get up every morning at 6 and run and never go to class?
Jason's reasoning for this was simple, as he believed the early wake-up gave him an advantage over his teammates, and during the 1997-1998 season, this extra work was paying off. The now Florida Gator was averaging 17.1 points, 6.7 assists, and 2.7 steals per game, and his inability to throw normal passes was only drawing more and more eyes from NBA teams. However, 17 games into his junior year, Jason's life would take a dark turn, as for the second time, Williams had been caught smoking, as Billy Donovan called them, left-handed cigarettes, resulting in his expulsion from the Florida program. While most would be left devastated, the West Virginia native had a different perspective.
When I explain my troubles with people, I kind of tell them it's like a baseball player. You know, when he steps up to the plate, he's got 3 strikes. And I feel as if I've already had 2, and if I swing and miss again, then my career's through, and I don't know what I'll do then.
And luckily for the star point guard, a certain someone would change his life forever. Nick Anderson, a forward for the Orlando Magic, had been sitting in the stands on December 17th, 1997, watching as Florida State narrowly escaped with a victory against the Gators. Nick, not knowing much about the collegiate game, was stunned as he watched number 55's raw ability to dominate a game with not only his scoring, but his unique ability to rack up assists. Shocked at what he had just witnessed, Anderson urged his agent to sign the young guard. Once Jason understood that the NBA was his only path forward, he would accept the gracious offer from the Orlando forward and sign with Nick's agent, who would then get him access to the Magic's off-season workouts. While scouts had seen what Williams was capable of on a college court, these pre-draft workouts against legit NBA athletes allowed teams to understand just how talented the Belle native was, and Jason quickly became one of the league's best-kept secrets. Teams like the Sacramento Kings, who had made their interest in high school phenom Kobe Bryant too public, only to then be leapfrogged by the Lakers in the draft, told the media they had no interest in selecting the ex-Gator. But on June 24th, 1998, this happened.
With the 7th pick in the 1998 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings select Jason Williams from the University of Florida.
But doubters still remained. Could a player who purposely chooses to throw crazy passes really lead an NBA franchise? Or was he just picked as a sideshow? Well, Rick Adelman, the head coach of the Sacramento Kings, would tell his new point guard something very interesting before their first game.
He told me before we came out for the game, he said, if you come down and throw a behind the back pass and it goes out of bounds, he said, don't worry about it. Next time, try it with your left hand.
Without another point guard to take his spot, and inspired by the trust given to him by his coach, Williams would score 21 points, throw 3 assists, and grab 5 steals in his debut NBA experience, shocking not only Kings fans, but their organization. They had finally found their point guard of the future. As the 1998-1999 season progressed, J. Will was continuing to shock everyone with his inability to throw a normal pass. Almost every single dime was done in a spectacular way, and Williams' basketball philosophy was helping his Kings to reach new heights.
I tell everybody I'd rather have 15 assists than 60 points a game, you know, just as long as C-Web, Block, and Corners are happy, then I'll be happy.
And while it did take his teammates some time to get used to playing with someone so eager to pass them the ball,
sometimes it looks like a magic, you know. The other night, you know, he made a pass to me, you know, I really didn't see a ball. The ball just hit me in the hands.
I'm asking, how could I do that? And you didn't play with Magic before. You don't have an answer for me.
Yeah, but sometimes you come at different angles.
Yeah, but that's Magic.
everyone eventually became accustomed to Jason's unselfish style of play, including Chris Webber, an NBA All-Star level forward who the Kings had traded for over the offseason. Not only did Williams and Webber share a strong desire for success, but they also found common ground with their off-court antics, as Webber had also faced trouble for his left-handed cigarette usage. And while most thought this was the reason Chris and Jason grew close, in truth, it was something else.
In our spare time, we really like to do the same things, and that's really not just stay at home and, stay away from a lot of people and a lot of things.
The pair, different to most NBA athletes, preferred staying home with their wives, and were often the first to arrive and the last to leave practices. A work ethic which would allow J. Will to dominate in another area on the court. Williams' speed, coupled with the ball handling skills he developed in the DuPont High School gymnasium, made him almost unguardable, a point that the Kings rookie proved by absolutely crossing up one of the NBA's premier defenders, Gary the Glove Payton, a move that skyrocketed the 7th pick into stardom. Yet, it wasn't just his play propelling him into fame, because a Sacramento Kings marketing agent had suggested to their rising rookie that they dub him White Chocolate, a nickname J. Will took an immediate liking to. White Chocolate would round out his first year in the league, averaging 12.8 points, 6 assists, and 1.9 steals per game, resulting in Jason finishing just short of the Rookie of the Year award. But his Kings were finally back in the postseason as the 7th seed. However, their first round opponent was none other than the 1997 and 1998 Western Conference champions, the Utah Jazz, a team that decimated the young Kings by an astonishing 30 points in their initial matchup, a performance which left everyone, excluding those within Sacramento's organization, believing that the series was already over. Or was it? May 10th, 1999, Jason Williams would take the exact advice his head coach had given him a few months ago, throwing this mind-boggling behind-the-back dime, as well as hitting multiple incredibly difficult fading threes. J. Will's tricky moves resulted in the rookie guard scoring 18 points, throwing 3 assists, and grabbing 2 steals in their Game 2 victory. But this wasn't all, because in their following battle with Utah, fueled by their deafening home crowd,
Jason Williams, listen to the crowd!
Williams would throw what would be the greatest pass of his young career, a no-look bullet to Corliss Williamson for the easy wide-open layup. Stunned by just how well this youthful group was playing, Utah would ultimately lose Game 3 in overtime, resulting in Sacramento being a single win away from moving on to the next round. However, the veteran Jazz, a team who went toe-to-toe with Michael Jordan's legendary Chicago Bulls teams, would begin to unravel the Kings. The point guard who had steered the Utah ship to repeat finals, John Stockton, would highlight a flaw in Williams' game. Stockton forced J. Will into 2.6 turnovers per match, a blemish in Jason's game that resulted in John's Jazz climbing their way back, winning the final 2 matchups and sending Sacramento packing. White Chocolate was devastated, vowing to solve his weakness and lead the Kings to new heights, because if he couldn't, Sacramento would likely be sending their 1998 7th pick somewhere else. February 12th, 2000, Jason Williams was set to appear in his first All-Star Weekend event, representing the second-year athletes in the rookie vs. sophomore game.
I'm saying with Jason Williams, your Sacramento teammate Chris Webber says, if you think he is exciting in games, you should come to our practices. This is a wide-open affair. What can we expect from you today?
I don't know. You just got to keep your eyes open. Don't go to the concession stands till halftime.
Jason would then truly shock not just the fans in the arena, but basketball players across the whole world with something no one had seen before.
And we're going to check the score.
Williams had thrown a behind-the-back pass off his elbow, a tricky move that I know for a fact we've all tried at least once, including me, in a pickup game, which, by the way, if you were subscribed to Out of Bounds, it would have worked. Anyway, and it was this play the ex-skater made which began to draw comparisons to other NBA legends.
People like Larry Bird has said that you're one of the best passers he's ever seen. You've been compared to Pete Maravich. How does that feel?
I mean, it feels good to be compared to such a great player like Pete and getting a comment from such a great person and player like Larry Bird. It makes me feel good, but still, yeah, I still have a long way to go. I'm still young, got a lot to learn.
As the remainder of the 1999-2000 season continued, Jason's rookie form only grew stronger. Not only did he record 18 nights with at least 10 assists, but against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the West Virginia native would throw a huge 18 dimes to his Kings teammates. Thanks to the flash and flair of White Chocolate, Sacramento was once again set to enter their second straight playoffs. However, awaiting them was the rising Los Angeles Lakers, a team who had just added 6-time NBA champion head coach Phil Jackson. Thanks to LA's 67-win regular season, no one had picked the Kings to even win a single game. Yet, Sacramento had other plans, because on May 5th, 2000, Sacramento, after miraculously coming back from being down 2-0, have found themselves in the exact same situation as their previous campaign. But would they be able to go one further this time? Well, Shaquille O'Neal, the 7'1", 300-pound Lakers regular season MVP, would go out and not only score 38 points, but also pull down 18 rebounds. Shaq's insane individual play, a performance that no one, not even White Chocolate, could match, would result in the Kings once again being sent home, just a single win away from moving on. Williams would sit in his locker and reflect, understanding that in order for his team to succeed, he would have to develop not only his insane skill, but also his basketball IQ. Therefore, White Chocolate would lock himself away in the Sacramento Kings film room, dissecting every single mistake from his rookie and sophomore seasons, trying to understand how he could better lead his Kings to their one true goal, an NBA championship. February 22nd, 2001, Sacramento is visiting the Golden State Warriors in a regular season matchup, and it was on this night where J. Will would highlight all the work he had poured in during the offseason. Not only did Williams end the game with double-digit assists, but the now 25-year-old would only have 2 turnovers, a trend that continued throughout the remainder of the 2000-2001 season. Jason had dramatically decreased how many times his passes failed from 3.7 per game to just 2.1, spearheading an explosive Kings offense that consisted of elite outside shooting from Peja Stojakovic and Doug Christie, as well as a dominant interior presence from Chris Webber and Vlade Divac. But it wasn't just on the court where White Chocolate was dominating, as his jersey had once again skyrocketed to not just the top 5, but becoming the #1 selling jersey in the whole league.
Your number 55 is the hottest selling jersey in the NBA. Is that surprising to you?
It is really surprising because it's always been my dream just to play in the league. But, you know, I give credit to my teammates and especially my man here. You know, without him, I don't think I'd be here sitting here today. Yet,
as the Kings season ended with a much improved 55 wins, could they actually make it all the way to the NBA Finals? May 2nd, 2001, Sacramento has again found themselves in the exact same situation since Jason arrived in the NBA, but this time, things were different. Williams knew that it wasn't his flashy play that would carry his Kings. No, it was his pure skill. J. Will had learned to perfectly pass the ball how all of his teammates liked it. Dimes that would allow their Serbian sniper to score an incredible 37 points. White Chocolate's passing and Peja's shooting would lead Sacramento to break free of their first-round curse, one step closer to their championship dreams. However, Sacramento was set to face the now defending NBA champion, the Los Angeles Lakers. LA, seasoned from their title run, would expertly melt down White Chocolate. I had to do it once, sorry. Forcing him into a horrible 3.3 turnovers per game, essentially turning number 55 into an unplayable point guard. Shaq, alongside running mate Kobe Bryant, would then decimate their cross-state rival in an embarrassing 4 games, sweeping Sacramento from their championship hopes. Yet, the suffering wasn't over for Williams, because as the Kings management reviewed their roster in preparation for the 2001-2002 season, one thing became clear. They really only had one hole in their lineup: point guard. Therefore, in a shocking move to fans, Jason Williams was traded to the newly relocated Memphis Grizzlies in exchange for the number 2 pick of the 1998 NBA draft, Mike Bibby. While most would be upset and hold some resentment towards their team for trading them, J. Will didn't.
It sucked at first, you know, because I didn't really want to leave Sacramento, but shout out to Bibby and the Kings. They got better when they got rid of me as a team, bro, in my eyes. What I know about basketball, that team was better when they got rid of me. They had a better chance of beating the Lakers.
Williams tried to see the positives in being moved to a new franchise, and on the 30th of November 2001, Jason wearing the brand new number 2 would showcase his true potential, as in a game against the Houston Rockets, it wasn't J. Will's mind-boggling passing that was on display. No, it was something else. The now ex-King would pour in jumper after jumper, as well as sneaking in crafty layups en route to scoring a brand new career high, 38 points. Yet it was the assist column which made Williams' career night even more impressive, because not only did he nearly drop 40, but Jason would also throw 11 assists, showing just how important he was for Memphis. However, White Chocolate's individual performances were just about the only positive for the Grizzlies, as, in Jason's words,
"We're the worst team in the league to me. I said the Hawks were worse, we're worse."
Memphis ended J. Will's initial season with the franchise having only won 23 games. Something had to change, and quick. November 11th, 2002. The Grizzlies have just lost their 8th game in a row to begin their 2002-2003 campaign. Brand new team president, 8-time NBA champion Jerry West, another West Virginia native, realized that head coach Sidney Lowe was no longer the man for the job, and then decided to make a move which shocked everyone across the league, hiring a coach who last held the reins 16 seasons ago, Hubie Brown. While many were stunned by West's decision, Hubie brought something the young Grizzlies squad was missing, because Coach Brown, despite being 69 years old, brought a fiery passion, often screaming at players when they made mistakes, a trait which Williams loved. Jason enjoyed that their new coach actually held not only himself, but their whole squad accountable. Memphis, thanks to another Hubie idea, breaking the season into 6-game chunks, with each section having specific goals, such as win 3 or improve our defense, the Grizzlies began to develop. But Brown wasn't done, as he would veto any requests management had for the players to spend hours signing jerseys, doing meet and greets, or anything that Hubie deemed to be a distraction, further winning the respect from his athletes. Whilst Memphis still had a poor record, only winning 28, the 2002-2003 season made it clear that the young Grizzlies squad was destined for greatness, and Jerry West wasn't done making moves. James Posey, a shooting forward, was brought in over the offseason, a great pairing with the mid-season trade President West had made for the 2001 Rookie of the Year, Mike Miller. J. Will now not only had a solid big man in Pau Gasol down low, but 2 snipers he could dime the ball to on the wings, players that Williams would highlight his biggest transformation with. As the 2003-2004 season pressed on, J. Will would continue to be white chocolate, whilst also showcasing just how much he had grown.
But he literally told me, he said, "Man, when you come off that screen, I bounce past it, just drive. If I chest pass, you just shoot it." I'm thinking to myself, how you see that? Because I'm like, you know how many things you gotta look at to see if I'm gonna be driving this one or if I'm gonna be shooting this one? But I said, all right, I'm gonna trust it. Bounce pass it, lay, chest pass it. I'm like, this is bananas.
Jason Williams was now able to manipulate the offense literally just with his passing, allowing Memphis, for the first time in the franchise's history, to hold a positive win-loss record, a feat achieved after just 17 nights. Not only had they set a new standard, the Grizzlies would win 8 games in a row and round out their season having won 13 of their final 15 matchups. And they weren't done yet, because Hubie Brown was named as the NBA Coach of the Year, the second time the veteran leader had been awarded this honor, with his last coming 26 years ago in 1978. Not only was their mentor named as the top coach in the league, but Memphis, thanks to the guidance of their point guard, had won an incredible 50 games, allowing the franchise to reach the postseason for the first time. However, their first opponent in the playoffs was the defending 2003 NBA champions, the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs, led by their dynamic trio of Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, and Tim Duncan, would dismantle the youthful Grizzlies game, dissecting their defense and slowing their offense to a halt. It took San Antonio a mere 4 games to send the rising Grizzlies home empty-handed, but Memphis was ecstatic. Not only had they finally entered the postseason, but they had built a team destined for success. Or had they? As shortly into the 2004-2005 season, President Jerry West would receive devastating news. The coach who had turned their franchise around was forced to retire. At age 71, the pure passion Hubie Brown coached with was putting his health at risk. One more risky pass from J. Will might literally have killed him. Therefore, West was forced to find a replacement. So Jerry would follow his playbook and hire another coach who was years removed from leading an NBA franchise. Mike Fratello, who had last coached in J. Will's rookie season for the Cleveland Cavaliers, was hired to become the new head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies. However, issues between the players and their new leader broke out almost immediately.
Fratello wasn't a guy, man. He wasn't a guy. He wasn't a guy that can control like 12 grown men.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a great middle school coach, bro. Swear.
And while they were able to enter another postseason, Williams' 17 point, 5.3 assist, and 1.5 steal averages against the Phoenix Suns were meaningless. Arizona's NBA team would, for the second season in a row, sweep the Grizzlies from their title dreams. And this wasn't all, because due to the rocky relationship White Chocolate held with his new mentor, he knew that his time with the Grizzlies would be ending. But where would Jerry West send him? Orlando, Florida. Jason Williams is relaxing during the offseason when all of a sudden his phone rang. Shaquille O'Neal, who after winning 3 NBA championships and 3 NBA Finals MVPs with Los Angeles, had been traded to the Miami Heat before the 2004-2005 season. Yet, despite being paired with one of the league's biggest rising stars, Dwayne Wade, Shaq had ultimately come up short on his championship promise. And he knew the Heat needed someone who could effectively distribute the ball amongst their star players.
He asked, did I want to play with him? No, for sure. What you got to do, you could tell Pat Riley he can cut my left nut off if he gets that deal done, right? You know what I'm saying?
August 2nd, 2005. The largest trade in the history of the NBA has just gone down. 5 teams and 13 players are involved, including James Posey and Jason Williams, who have been traded to the Miami Heat for the 2005-2006 season. But 21 games in with his new franchise, Jason and his Heat teammates were failing. But why? Well, head coach Stan Van Gundy, much like Mike Fratello, was struggling to handle all the egos and talent on his new roster. Therefore, Heat president Pat Riley knew something had to change.
He never lost the slick back hairstyle, and apparently Pat Riley never lost the urge to coach. Today, the 4-time NBA champion boss retook the reins in Miami as Stan Van Gundy stepped down.
I have a responsibility to this team and to the players that I traded for, picked, signed, and I think right now at this moment that I'm the best person to do that.
To begin his new tenure as the Miami Heat head coach, Pat would sit down with Jason and clearly outline what was expected of him. Williams' sole focus was to be a distributor, and White Chocolate was to be left only for wide open fast breaks, a sacrifice Jason was happy to make in order to achieve his one true goal, a championship. Thanks to the buy-in from all the superstars on their roster, Miami ended their 2005-2006 campaign with a 50-32 record, and despite some blunders against the Chicago Bulls and New Jersey Nets,
Jersey, they got Vince Carter, the Jason Kidd, Richard Jefferson, oh my God.
The Heat had found themselves back for a rematch against the Detroit Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals. June 2nd, 2006. Whilst it was Miami who was just a single win away from the finals, it was Detroit who held all the momentum. The Pistons having crucially shut Shaq down, holding him to just 19 points in Game 5, and knowing that if they stole Game 6 on the road, they would be playing the deciding Game 7 at home, were ready to once again upset the Miami Heat. However, Jason Williams, knowing just how important this win was for his squad, would go out and score not just 2 or 3 buckets in a row, but 10. White Chocolate would expertly attack the hoop, find space in the mid-range for pull-up jumpers, and use his signature left-handed dribble pull-up 3. The ex-Grizzlies' insane night ignited the Heat to a 17-point victory and helped them to achieve a franchise first, an NBA Finals berth. But could they really win a championship? June 12th, Miami, thanks to the incredible play of Dallas Mavericks forward Dirk Nowitzki, had arrived at their practice facility down 2-0, on the verge of an embarrassing sweep. Yet, Pat Riley, who had won 5 championships as a player and head coach, would say something that shocked everyone.
After game 2, he brought in one of the newspaper articles from the Dallas newspapers. It said, "Heat finished, Heat has no chance, they don't belong here." And then he said, "I want you guys to write this date down in your calendar." And I said, "I'm serious about it." June 20th, 2006. And guys were looking around, and he says, "That's the first day that we have an opportunity to win a championship." And he says, "We're going to do it on that day."
But despite Riley's attempt to encourage his squad, it was again Miami who found themselves in a near impossible hole, down 13 points in the fourth quarter of Game 3. So once again, Coach Pat would simply write "our season" on his whiteboard during a timeout, making it obvious what was truly at stake. Jay Will, alongside his Heat teammates, would leave the huddle and begin to come together as a unit.
Basketball is a beautiful game if it's played the right way, to me, bro.
Yeah.
And it's so hard if we go out and play for me to get it done or for you to get it done for our team. Like if you use screens and you make the extra pass, it just makes the game so much easier. Like, how much easier is it for you, instead of putting your shoulder down, crossing somebody up, and banging into them and getting a layup, as opposed to making one more pass, setting the back screen, and going back door wide open?
Boom. Miami had incredibly erased their rivals' lead and had escaped Game 3 with a much-needed victory. Yet, would they really be able to win 3 more games? Or was this W merely a fluke? Well, Game 4 would truly see Miami swing the momentum back in their favor, dominating Dirk and his Dallas team by 24 points. A performance backed up by clutch free throws in Game 5 from their star shooting guard, deflating the Mavericks' hopes and placing Jason just a single win away from his lifelong dream. However, Dallas still had one clear advantage. Both Game 6 and 7 would be played in Dallas. June 20th, 2006. As this must-win Game 6 progressed, Jason Williams would showcase the maturity he had developed during his 7-year NBA career, ending the night with a vital 7 assists, but most importantly, having achieved his dream.
Congratulations, Miami Heat, 2006 NBA champions.
Oh, we on the floor, doing our thing. Miss Riley come up, put her arm around me, whisper in my ear, "Hey, don't think I ain't forgot about that last night." I was like, put it on out there, let's get the side.
However, could they go back-to-back? October 31st, 2006. A night that was initially filled with joy would end in absolute frustration and anger. Miami not only lost on the night that they were presented their championship rings, but had done so by an embarrassing 42 points. Pat Riley was furious. His athletes hadn't spent the summer preparing to repeat. Instead, they had spent it partying, and this was only the start of his issues. Because as his Miami team continued to fail, Riley became so irritated in their locker room that he kicked a door with such force that his meniscus tore. Yet this wasn't all, as a few weeks later, Jay Will was instructed via a note to meet Pat in his office so they could discuss him being late to a practice. But when Jason refused because the note wasn't in his coach's handwriting, Riley removed his point guard from their facility. However, Shaq took exception to this and began a shouting match with his head coach, a clear sign of where the team was heading. Miami would then become the only team in the history of the NBA to be eliminated in just the first round of the playoffs after winning a title. And not only did Chicago prevent the Heat from going back-to-back, but they had swept Miami from the postseason. Embarrassed and angered by his star's lack of care, Pat Riley would trade Shaquille O'Neal halfway through the following 2007-2008 season. Miami, without their superstar big man, just 2 years removed from an NBA title, would fail to even make the playoffs. Not only was Williams devastated to have failed to enter the postseason, his body was beginning to break down. And once free agency began, no one was interested in the 2006 champions' services, except for one team, The Los Angeles Clippers would sign the ex-King to a 1-year veteran minimum contract, hoping that White Chocolate could play backup minutes and guide their young squad. Yet, when Jay Will found out just how expensive Los Angeles was, Williams realized he would literally lose money playing for the Clippers. But since he was locked into his contract, he couldn't exactly leave, unless... Unsurprising, after spending the required single year away from the NBA, Jason Williams made his inevitable return for the Orlando Magic. Orlando, after trading away backup point guard Rafer Alston to acquire Vince Carter, were in desperate need of someone to help starting guard Jameer Nelson, and Jay Will's veteran approach suited them perfectly. Williams slotted into a team that looked much like his King and Heat squads. They had a dominant big man in Dwight Howard that Jason could throw lob after lob to, as well as elite shooters on the wings in JJ Redick and Rashard Lewis. Despite being 34 years old, Jay Will, for the first time in his career, would appear in all 82 games that season, even starting 18, whilst also averaging 6 points and 3.6 assists per game. White Chocolate's ability to fit in perfectly with the Magic would assist Orlando in returning to the Eastern Conference Finals for a matchup against the 2008 NBA champion Boston Celtics. However, there was nothing the backup guard could do to slow down the surging Celtics. And it was Boston who would ultimately make it out of the Eastern Conference for another matchup against Kobe Bryant and his Los Angeles Lakers. But there was one positive, because the Orlando Magic, who had signed Jay Will expecting nothing, were impressed at just how good he still was, despite being in his mid-30s. Therefore, Orlando would extend their offer for another season, a deal which the veteran leader gladly accepted. Yet, after being ejected twice in a 6-game span the following season, with his second only taking 45 seconds after he was inserted into the game, combined with his injury woes returning, Jason Williams was ultimately waived by the Magic. But was his NBA career really over? Well, thankfully for the man who struggled to get along with officials his whole career, the team who had traded for White Chocolate all those years ago would bring him back. However, the Belle native's body was too far gone, and at the end of the 2010-2011 season, Jason Williams would officially retire from the NBA, and this time it wasn't just to get out of a contract. Jason White Chocolate Williams was truly one of the greatest passers to ever step foot onto an NBA floor. Watching Jay Will, especially in his time with the Kings and Grizzlies, it almost seemed like he physically couldn't throw a normal pass. And while part of his reasoning was to wow the audience, the real truth is often the dimes he threw were simply a more efficient way of delivering the ball. By using various head fakes, no looks, or throwing it in a way that defenses simply didn't expect, he was able to find his teammates more effectively than if he were to pass in a traditional way. Whilst Jason eventually transformed his game to be more efficient in order to lower his turnovers, White Chocolate would always appear at least once a game, turning him into a fan favorite for people all over the world. By the way, let me know what you think below of this question. Does Jason Williams deserve a spot in the top 10 point guards of all time? Regardless if you think yes or no, please share your thoughts below. I would love to hear them. Also, did you know that the player Jason Williams replaced on the Orlando Magic was the only player to ever make it to the NBA from being a professional street baller? Rafer Alston grew up in New York, honing his craft on the outdoor courts of Rucker Park, and before making it to the NBA, played pro street ball on the And1 circuit. To find out more about his incredible life story, click the video on your screen now.
That's out of bounds.